Also, in the light of last night, some sort of coming about 20 minutes ago, Pete Hall from the Eye saying Chelsea could revisit a move for Alejandro Garnacho this summer, with Napoli also keen. Easy to drop those ones again to reignite what was going on in January. I think that's an easy win, but there's so much to go through. Owen, where are we starting with this?
Let's start with the Elanga stuff. This is quite interesting because, of course, he got the most assists in the Premier League in 2025. So going into the game, he was in good form. In addition to that, of course, he scores the goal, and every time he went forward, he was looking quick on the counter attack. He just looked like more of a player than he looked like at Manchester United, right? And Ruben Amorim was actually asked about this after the game, which is somewhat unfair because, of course, he wasn't the manager at the time when Anthony Elanga was here, but he was asked a lot. He said, we're talking about a lot of players that come from Manchester United and they're doing right, but they had the chance here. The pressure is too big sometimes. Sometimes you don't have time for that. You need a strong support base to support these kids. So this was a question where he was asked actually about sort of, what does it mean about United that Alanga's doing well outside of United? Rashford's gone on loan and people are saying that he's doing well now. And basically his response is, well, they had their chance here and they couldn't cut it. And it's different to play for Manchester United than it is to play, no disrespect, to Nottingham Forest or to play for Aston Villa, because the pressure's different. And some people can handle the pressure, some people can't. Also, when asked if it was frustrating to see Anthony Elanga do so well at Nottingham Forest, he said, no, they have to perform at Manchester United. We can't look at the other players that go away. They had their chance at Manchester United. You are asking a lot about other players. We have to look at the players in Manchester United. I'm focused on improving my team. Now, when it comes to all of this discourse about was getting rid of Elanga a mistake, was it a mistake? Samuel Luckhurst, to be fair, does point out a good point here. Sort of, let's not change history. Let's not get too revisionist about this. He says the only mistake that Manchester United made with Anthony Elanga was not getting a higher fee. He didn't score in his last close to 18 months at the club. He hardly started for Erik ten Hag, and at the time, there were more established and better potential wingers. Now, a separate issue is the signings of people that were in his positions, i.e. Jadon Sancho, obviously didn't work out. Antony, big error of judgment in terms of the transfer fee, didn't work out. They're separate matters altogether, but he's sort of suggesting, well, we shouldn't necessarily change history here because nobody was really complaining with the decision to sell Elanga at the time. Yes, the transfer fee is low. I think it's like 15 million. Should have been much more, but let's not change history here. So what do you make of all of that? And let us know in the chat what you make of that, because obviously last night there was a lot of, when we talk about the Garnacho stuff, which we'll talk about later on, we've got Garnacho and look at Elanga. He's doing really well. But as Samuel Luckhurst points out, but Manchester United, it didn't work out for him. And as we've seen, Man United's a different beast, when it comes to being able to handle that pressure. Look at someone as experienced as Rashford, doing well at Villa, because the pressure, even being in an FA Cup semi-final, Champions League quarter-final, is less than playing for Manchester United. That level of scrutiny. What do you make of it all?
Yeah, 100%. It's a different pressure. And I remember when Elanga's come through. I remember that first season. I remember being out there in Atletico. He gets his first goal against Jan Black, and you're thinking, right, this is the start of it for this kid. He's getting a pity. He come in at a bad time when the team was really bad. Ranić's taken over, and he's getting some games because he just worked his socks off. I remember it like clear as day. Let's not, he worked his socks off, and he was the academy player. And when things were really bad, we all took to him because he's one of us, and he's amongst all of the shit, he can be a bright spark. And it's the same as what happened, how Garnacho started coming through, and how Kobbie started coming through, and how when I know Amaz's not from the academy, but just the bright sparks amongst the crap. So he came through in that period, and very quickly he gets his own song. Rhythm is a dance, Anthony is Elanga, scoring goals from everywhere. It's a vibe, this, that, and the other. And then that preseason happened, it gets into the next year, and you go, well, okay, it's now starting to settle down a little bit. And I don't care who's who. The whole general consensus was like, okay, it's time for like the Sanchos now. It's time to, that's not the level. That's not the level. Like, he needs to go find his level. He's not getting much game time as well. So you want the best for him. And like Luckhurst said there, didn't score for like 17 months. And then you go to somewhere like Forest and look how they play as well. Look how they play. It is completely tailored to somebody like Anthony Elanga's skill set. He's explosive, he's powerful, he's really good in transition, he's really, really quick. Suits him to a T. We're now looking at him, like I said, Adama with end product. You know, it suits him perfectly. And I'm not saying that that's all he is. I'm not saying that, you know, that's all he'll ever be. He can't, you know, Newcastle tried to buy him in January. So yes, did it show that he needed more time? Yes. Did to develop as a player. So there's that point of it of like a lot of young players at Man United just can't develop properly there. They can't develop.
Yeah.
It's too toxic. Yeah. It's too up and down. There's no structure. There's no method to the madness with what's going on at Man United. So young players can't do what they need to do. But the common theme of players looking better when they leave isn't just because you know, they're just way better than Man United. It is about, you know, what you're doing here. The badge weighs heavy. It's difficult, and he just needed a clear path to go and play football without that pressure, which you weren't going to get at United. But the revisionism of like, it means we shouldn't have sold. We do this all the time. When Jadon Sancho was playing half good, and I was in that, I was there. I said this when he was playing half decent for Chelsea this season. Our shit's so bad, we end up going, well, Jadon Sancho would instantly start in one of our 10s now. And look at us now. What, you're trying to say Jadon Sancho couldn't play in that left 10 now under Amorim? I'd like to see that now. Then you fast forward a little bit and you go, look at him, mate. Tell you what, no chance. Don't want none of that. We change it really, really quickly with what we think about players. So for me, I'm not seeing it as he should never have left. I think he's gone to the right team, the right manager, in the right moment of his career, and he's flourishing. And the way they play suits him down to a T for me.
Yeah, I agree with what Amorim said. Like I said, it's somewhat harsh, I think, on him to answer those questions because he's got nothing to do with Anthony Elanga, like, or the decision for him not to be there anymore. So to be asked those questions, is it so frustrating to see Anthony Elanga doing well outside of, you know, Manchester United? If I was him, I'd be like, well, I've literally got nothing to do with that. So I don't know how to answer that question. But I do think he answers it very well with, yeah, like you said, I think it's a combination of the pressure of the shirt is heavy, absolutely. And because of the pressure that comes with it, like you said, it's really difficult for young players to develop at United. We see it now. We'll have to talk about Garnacho. There's talks about Kobe at the moment. I mean, we're so quick to look at these young players so fast that they basically, at the moment they make their first appearance for United, like the clock's ticking down on whether they're going to be good enough or not immediately. And like you said with Elanga, he came through in, at the time, what was our worst Premier League season ever. And we was just sort of like, oh, like you said, we sort of latch on to the young players, don't we, when things are going shit?
Yeah.
Go, at least they care. At least they care. Some of the other ones don't care, but at least he cares. And then he scored, like you said, against Atletico. I think he scored against Leeds away. Yeah, and you go, all right, yeah. But like the general consensus wasn't it like, he's done okay, but we should move him on. We got to be ruthless, right? Got to be ruthless. Got to be cutthroat. And obviously, look, he's doing very well in a very good team in a system that's suited to him. But I think we have to be careful with the revisionism. With just, I do agree, and it's rare that I would say this with Luck Costa. I do think that's the biggest mistake is there. You just go, did sell him for enough? And
we said that at the time as well.
And we've done that a few times over the last few years when we've sold players on because we're so shit at selling that we go like 15 million. Like if that was Chelsea or City or whatever, they'd got like 40. I mean, and this is Elanga scoring goals in the Champions League and in the Premier League. So absolutely. They should have got more. And as we always say, it's not necessarily about who you sell, it's who you replace him with. Because if we replaced him with some people that actually were good and were being successful at Manchester United, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. We'd be going, Alanga's doing great, but we've got better. The problem is we don't have better. And every single time we do sell, we don't get better. So we look to what we sold and go, we shouldn't have done that. Like Onana and De Gea. We shouldn't have sold De Gea. Why? Because we've got Onana. Well, because we didn't replace with better. We never replaced with better. That's the problem. You know, in fairness, like this season, I always go back to the Wan-Bissaka example. obviously Wan-Bissaka did okay. He's done okay at West Ham, but you don't talk about, oh, he's just terrible because Mazraoui did all right. Mazraoui's done okay. So we don't really focus on that. It's because we cannot replace with better. So we look back and go, shouldn't have let him go. So,
and and right now, Elanga's better than Garnacho because he's more effective. He's more effective.
Yeah.
Having a better season. He gets more GA, and you just know what you're getting. You know, he's physically stronger than him, and like I said, he's more consistent than him. Completely different types of players as well, but you know, he's better than him. So, like you said, you look at the two, and you go, well, you're better off just keeping Elanga then. Elanga would have been adapted to playing these inside 10s to be better than Garnacho right now. Look what Garnacho's doing, which we'll get to. But what on earth is he doing? What on earth is he doing? You know, why is he that bad? And I'm looking at the guy at Forest who we sold for 15 million, be one of the best wingers in the league. And you make that link and you go, well, then we've effed up. That was wrong. We should have kept him and never brought him through.
Do you know what it'll be as well? You just know, like if Elanga had stayed and we're still developing, if he had a couple of bad games or didn't get any goals, assists for a while, it'll be stop doing all those videos on social media in the gym, Elanga. 100%. Just do it out on the pitch. Yeah, who do you think you are? You know, playing for Sweden like that? No. You got Manchester United. I mean, we are very predictable in that sense, aren't we? You know what I mean?
EI says people have short-term memory loss. The Elanga at United was worse than the Garnacho of today. Technically, Garnacho has higher goals and assists than Elanga this season. Does he? Does he? I want to check.
Let's have a look.
Well, you saying technically as well? Where's the technicality? Is that because we've played in more competitions? I don't know. What's the technically, or just a straight fact? He does.